Hey everybody, Wienerfied.com. Back at it again. So I'm kind of doing a continuation of the last few episodes. Really, it started with episode 28. No More Mass Control. Kind of moved into the story of my ex-wife. And then I did an episode yesterday about alimony and child support and all that kind of shit, and how we kind of really need to start getting away from doing that crap. So today is going to culminate in kind of the, my ending rant. So today is basically the feminist lie, okay, or the lie that has been told about feminism. So a lot of people, they don't even really know what feminism is. First of all, they don't understand that there's a huge difference between being a feminist compared to being feminine, right? Feminine means that you're very girly, right? It kind of goes back to the biblical description of a woman being submissive and, feminine and appreciating the fact that she's a woman and not trying to compete about it, not trying to gain any form of equality or anything like that. True femininity is, where women are proud to be women. Whereas feminist is kind of almost the exact opposite. It's really it is a quest for equality, right? It is a determination to be equal to men. It's a bunch of bullshit, okay? It goes against nature's design. It goes against God's design. I don't really care how you look at it. I've said this in other episodes. Anytime you have to have a man-made law saying that one group of people are equal to another group of people, then it should be pretty damn good evidence that you're not really equal at all. What that should prove is that one group of people is bowing down to compensate somebody else pretending to be equal to them, right? Equality is determined, true equality, right? I mean, when we talk about true equality, think of it like the two kids in school who, one kid might be picking on the other kid or whatever. And so the solution is to go out back and fight it out. And one kid wins, the other kid doesn't. That's how you kind of determine equality in nature, right? It's determined through either physical force or, mental dominance or some form of beating the other person, right? And if nobody can physically or mentally or emotionally beat each other, then that's called equality, right? You see this a lot in the animal kingdom, like where two male lions will sit there and fight and fight and fight, and neither one of them really wins. So neither one of them gets the title of the king, right? They just kind of go their own ways. They said, fuck it, they fought it out, and neither one of them won, and so they that's what kind of creates an equality system. Anytime you have to make a man-made law saying that you are equal to somebody else, that should be pretty fucking good evidence that you're not equal at all. So there's that. And I'm going to get back into this a little bit here in the end, but basically, this comes from research done from the Pew Research Center. So 61%, and I guess this came from the 2019 census, along with some other research and stuff like this. 61% of U.S. women say that they are feminists. Many women see feminism as empowering and polarizing. About 7 in 10 women with at least a bachelor's degree, so 72%, say the term feminist describes them very or somewhat well, compared with 56% of women with less education. There is sharp partisan divides among women as well. 3/4 of Democrats say that they are feminists. with only 42% of Republican women saying that they're feminists. So you got about 75% of women say that who are Democrats say they're feminists, compared to 42% of Republicans who say that they're feminists. Women are not the only ones who identify with the term feminist. Oh my goodness, I did not know this. Man, so here again, this is from the Pew Research Center. 4 in 10 men in the United States say that the term feminism describes them at least somewhat well. Democratic men are more than twice as likely as their Republican counterparts to say feminist describes them. And like women, men with a bachelor's degree or higher are more likely than those with less education to say that the term feminist describes them somewhat well. Holy crap. So here you go. 40% of men in this fucking country claim to be a feminist. You know, when we talk about pulling the gerbils out and saving the gerbils, right? Over here at wienerfied.com, this is what we're talking about right here. Okay, so now here again, the traditional definition of feminism is searching for equality, right? They want equality. But it's morphed into a lot more than that. And for men to sit here and identify as feminists themselves, I mean, it's one thing to support feminism. It's one thing to say, yeah, women should have equal rights. But it is quite a different thing to literally label yourself as a male feminist. This is the fucking problem in this country right here. This is it. This is why shit has gotten allowed to become the way that it is. I've always said this. You cannot blame women for overstepping, right? You give them an inch and they take a mile. That's just human nature. They're going to do that. The people to blame are the men who have allowed this, right? That's the people to blame. The men who have encouraged this, and the men who identify themselves as a feminist. So it's actually not surprising to see the statistics that 61% of women say that they're feminists. But when I see the statistics that 40% of men say that they're feminists, man, I've got to wonder. This is the reason why we haven't won a war since World War II. And that is straight up. This is the reason right here. This is how men become confused about what kind of fucking bathroom they should go to. Western society has always struggled with the issue of what to do with unmarried women. Obviously there was a religious mania, the so-called witches of the medieval ages, communities fixated on single women, they laid them as kind of like the other class of people, right? Not only because they were suspicious of their alternative lifestyles, but because of their collective guilt over their inability to cater for them. I disagree with that. If a woman is single, she's single by choice. Okay, so it's not that we ever struggled with our inability to cater for them. When single women weren't assumed to be witches, they were often taken to be prostitutes, which obviously, if there's a stereotype there, it's usually a reason for it. There was actually a time period where the two terms were actually interchangeable between witch or prostitute in some countries in their court records. That's interesting. There was a term called spinsterhood, which came into existence in the mid-1300s to describe those who spun thread and yarn, a low-income job that was one of the few available for lower-status unmarried women. Most still lived in their family home, whether their financial contributions were no doubt greatly appreciated. The term bore no stigma and was used almost as a surname, like Smith or Johnson or Taylor. So the spinsterhood, right? This was kind of the woman's first feminist movement where they didn't really, they were single by choice. They didn't really want to get married, or no man would take them. Maybe they were just that damn dog shit ugly. I don't know. Maybe no man wanted them. I don't know, for whatever reason. It could have been a genetic thing. Maybe they didn't like the bloodline that they came from. It literally could have been an overpopulation thing where there was just so many women and not enough men, because remember 1300s, right? That's the medieval times. There was not as many men in the world as there were women, you know, from war and famine and shit like that. So for whatever reason, these women started their spinsterhood. The spinsterhood was accompanied by unusual legal and economic freedoms. The feudal law of courtship invested men with absolute power over their wives. And the female soul, or unmarried woman, was the only category of female legally entitled to own and sell possessions, sign contracts, represent herself in court, or retain wages. It wasn't until the late 18th century that people began to despise the spinster, and that was largely thanks to poets, playwrights, and other trendsetters of the time who turned her into one of the most pitiable creatures in literature. So basically, I mean, what's the right way to put this? Basically, you know, some of these women, it was catching on, I think. And here again, we're talking about primarily, you know, like the Caucasian, European style. We're not really talking about other cultures in the world, you know, like Asians or African. I mean, this research is done primarily on Caucasian history. So there you got that. Literature started to come out, you know, and obviously society started, you know, kind of getting on board. They trolled never married women with hideous caricatures of stupidity, meanness, and monstrosity. You know, here again, I mean, this is kind of what brought back like the witchcraft and all this kind of shit, you know, the accusations of that. Women who couldn't or wouldn't procreate were written off as useless or selfish or both. There again, I mean, a lot of them were literally forced into prostitution. When an 1851 census revealed that one byproduct of the Neapolitan Wars and colonization was a generation of surplus women counting in their millions, some suggested taxing their finances, while others called for them to be forcibly immigrated. And yet it was ultimately the Victorians who, with their sense of purpose and powers of association, reduced the spinster, championing her the rebel spirit that fanned feats of political and social reform. So basically that was your first series of feminist movements. Right? We're talking about the mid 1800s to the late 1800s. Obviously in America we start seeing this pretty predominantly. Here again, I kind of talked about it in my last episode. Things like polygamy, right? Things like polygamy were all of a sudden being you know, taken to court, and women were complaining about it, saying that it was not equal for them because, you know, a lot of times they didn't have any choice. They wanted to say, okay, if a man can have many women, then why can't a woman have many men? And here again, the courts were like, fuck that. That's not happening, right? So they went ahead and just illegalized it for everybody. The same kind of thing started happening in the early 1900s. We see the feminist movement pushing for things like prohibition, right? The prohibition movement was never to prohibit alcohol. What the original argument was saying, hey, if men can go out and drink and party and do all this kind of shenanigans, then women should be allowed to do it too. And the Republican courts was like, no thanks, let's just make it illegal for everybody. So that is literally kind of the origins of the feminist movement in America. The 19th Amendment obviously was a big deal, right? Women's right to vote, that was a huge deal. And It really kind of set the path for things like no-fault divorce. It really set the path for things like alimony and child support. And then obviously, you know, the further, you know, it really created kind of the push for the civil rights movements of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And voila, we have today where women can basically get away with murder. And that's what we got now. So, let's see here. Let's look at some more information. This is off of censusdata.com. Okay, so yeah, let's look at these statistics in today's America. So here again, the feminization of our society and women's rights, like I said, it went from voting rights to no-fault divorces to alimony and child support. And now we have the aftermath of what is now the single mom statistics. So, man, this is crazy. So in the 2019 United States Census, there were 15.6 million single mother-headed households in America. Let me repeat that. 15.6 million single mother-headed households. This is 3 times the amount of numbers that there were in 1960. So basically, out of the 25% of U.S. families in America in 2019 are headed by a single parent. So out of that 25%, 80% of those are headed by single mothers. Now keep in mind that women initiate divorce 80% of the time. So this number actually lines up pretty closely with that, right? If 80% of the single parent headed households are moms, it goes to the reason that they probably damn near all are the ones that initiated divorce. 25% of U.S. families are headed by a single parent, and 80% of those are single mothers. That is fucking sanity to me. Studies estimate that by the time children turn 9, 20% of U.S. children born to a married couple and more than 50% of those born to a cohabitating couple will experience the breakup of their parents. Here again, we're talking about the complete destruction of the nuclear family. In 2018, 40% of babies born in the United States were born to unmarried mothers. Again, this is all according to the census data of 2019. Millennial single mom statistics. 57% of millennial parents had at least one child out of wedlock. This is per John Hopkins research. 64% of millennial mothers reported at least one birth out of wedlock. It says here that more educated millennials are having babies outside of marriage. Of millennial moms who have babies outside of marriage, 67% have some college education and 32% have 4 or more years of higher education. Man, that is insanity. That is just insanity. Man, I don't even know what to say about this. You know, the feminist movement has this funny term for motherhood. It's called unpaid work. This is what they're calling it now. This is what they're considering to be part of the victimhood that they're faced with. So on average, women around the world spend more than twice as many hours as men doing unpaid work. Unpaid work refers to work performed in home, from childcare, cooking, and cleaning, to collecting water and gathering firewood in communities without electricity and running water. In India, women spend an average of 6 hours a day performing unpaid work, while Indian men spend only 1 hour per day. In the U.S., women spend an average of 4 hours a day, and men just spend 2.5 hours a day. There is no country where the gap is zero. Across their lifetimes, on average, a woman will spend 7 years more performing unpaid work than a man. Cutting women's unpaid work from 5 hours a day to 3 boosts women's participation in the workforce by approximately 20%. Participating in paid work is hugely significant, as it gives women the power, independence, and financial resources to achieve equality with their male counterparts. So there you have it. There you have it. That is literally the feminist. That is the feminist mentality. So they don't believe that they should have to be the ones raising their children anymore. This is where we see a whole bunch of mannies coming in, right? Women think that they should belong to the workforce. They think that they should have, equal pay for equal hours. Even though, at least in America, it's been illegal to discriminate against gender since at least 1965. For example, the wage gap in America that everybody keeps whining about, it has been proven time and time again that it is completely false. Okay, if you have a woman that has the exact same amount of education with the exact same amount of experience, who works the exact same amount as her male counterpart, she's going to get paid as much, if not more, as that man. When you factor in things like women not feeling good, they come down with fucking menstrual cramps and don't come into work. They get fucking months and months and months off of paternity leave. There's so many other things. They don't work as much overtime. There's so many things that go in to a woman not earning as much as a man. But when you take a woman and she has the exact same amount of education with the exact same amount of experience, working in the exact same job for the exact same amount of time, you're going to find that that woman is paid identically to her male counterparts. And again, at least in America, it's been illegal to do anything other than that since at least 1965. So, here's my beef with feminism. And it all comes down to child support, alimony, and this kind of thing. If a woman wants to pretend like she's equal to a man, that's fine. I don't really give a single shit if that's what she wants to believe. I know that if it comes to a time where I'm teamed up, or let's talk about basic human survival. Let's talk about an end-of-world scenario where one male and one female has to go out into the woods, right? There's no food, there's no fucking Walmart, there's nothing. And we got to go out into the woods and we've got to survive. I'm pretty sure that there is no woman in this world that is going to be able to outcompete that male and survive. I'm pretty sure. There may be women who are able to survive alone. Sure, I'm not saying that they wouldn't be able to find food and water and live. But here's the thing. As the male, we're going to find that female. And we're either going to want to reproduce, or if she can't reproduce, then she really doesn't serve any other purpose than a cum dumpster. That's the God's honest truth. That woman is not going to be able to stop that. She does not have the physical or the mental abilities to compete against that. And therefore, she is not going to survive without that man. This is called biology. And if you look at evolutionary biology, this is the reason that human males are larger than human females. We are the dominant gender. So when a woman wants equality, that means that I have to lower my standards in order to elevate her to a point where she can be equal to me. Say what you want, but that doesn't seem very fucking fair to me. Say what you want, but that doesn't seem like God's design to me. Now here's the thing. A woman's purpose on this earth is to reproduce. A woman's purpose is to have children. She needs a man to do that. She can't do it on her own. Okay? But that is her purpose. Once she has fulfilled that purpose, she has no other purpose, biologically speaking, on this earth. So once she's completed that, if she takes it on herself, upon herself, to try to leave that man, to try to break away from his nest of protection and providing and care and all these other things, then she is taking on the responsibility of those children. Or at least she should be. She should not be expecting a man to fucking care for her. And here's where the feminist lie comes into place. If a woman was truly equal to a man, and if a woman was truly capable of doing it on her own, then she would not need a man's help. She wouldn't even want a man's help. Because she would want to be able to prove that she's badass enough and feminist enough to do it all on her own. I don't know why more people, I guess 40% of men and 65% of women need to get this through their heads. That if you're truly that badass, then you should not want or need a man's help. If you're going to take it upon yourself to take a man's children away from him, take him to court, get parental rights, get full custody, all that whole 9 yards, then there's not a snowball's chance in hell that you should need one single penny from him. And if you do, then you're not really a feminist. What you are is you're a victim. That's really what you are. What you're doing is you're proving to the world that all of us toxic masculine men are 100% correct about you, that you're really nothing more than a fucking incapable twat waffle who's been spoiled to the point of believing that we're equal. Alright? I can take care of my kids on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I can go out and fucking work, or I can do whatever the hell I need to do. I can take care of my kids on my own. And I can pay for your lazy ass to sit at home all day and do unpaid work, too. Now, here's the thing. When I say lazy ass, there is no doubt that stay-at-home moms are the hardest working women in the world. But here's another misconception. That work is not unpaid. The payoff for that work is being able to raise your own children in a nuclear family home where they're not going to grow up doing drugs, fucking around and doing all that kind of shit. That's the payoff. It may not be a monetary payoff, but it is a social payoff. And the fact that all you women are calling this unpaid work really just shows how fucking stupid you all really are. It really truly shows how lack of moral character and common sense you have. So, I want everybody to think about this. This is the lie of feminism. This is the bullshit that you have all allowed yourself to believe in. For all you guys out there, man, you need to pull the gerbils out of your ass and stop being a bunch of fucking... Man, you need to stop being a bunch of pussies. You need to find your balls and you need to grab them. And that's it, man. That's all I got to say on this. I hope that, I'm sure I'm going to get kicked off of Facebook the minute that I put this on there. But man, you stupid motherfuckers out there need to start learning some damn traditional roles and understanding how important it was to the stability of the nuclear family. If a woman wants to take away a man's kids, she has equality now. She's just as capable as working as him. She's got daycare paid for. She's got all kinds of other resources out there. Okay, she's got a fucking public daycare system called public school that she can send her kids to. So there is absolutely no excuse on God's earth why any woman would want a single penny from her man, unless you're ready to admit that there is nothing equal about us. This is the feminist lie. And I hope that all you fucking feminazis out there that have completely destroyed your children's lives. This is the reason why we haven't won a war since World War II. This is the reason why 40% of American men consider themselves to be fucking feminists. Because they've been raised by a bunch of single fucking twat waffle mothers who think that they're equal, even though they've never had to actually earn their equality. Your equality was given to you by a bunch of emasculated men who are basically tired of hearing you whine. That's how you earned your equality. You did not earn it off of your abilities. You did not earn it off of anything that you've done other than whining and complaining. And you're still doing it even though you've technically got so much fucking equality that it's absolutely ridiculous. Man, wienerfight.com. Let's talk about this shit. Come at me and tell me your thoughts.